salutations, my dearest friends. My name is Samantha and welcome back to Trope Week. What Trope Week is that for an entire week I pick a very specific romance book trope and then I do a whole video on a ton of book recommendations for you. And today I'm going to be talking about some novellas that are available on Kindle Unlimited. How are you? Welcome back to my channel. It is day 3 of Trope Week. And Trope Week a couple times on my channel. It's a little mini series on my channel, so I will have the entire playlist listed down below. If you don't see a trope mentioned this week, it's more than likely that I've already done a video on it. So again, I'll leave that playlist down below because I have trope recommendations for poly romances, brother's best friend romances, BDSM romances, so many different types of tropes that I've already filmed a video on, so I'll leave that down below. Today I'm going to be talking about novellas on Kindle Unlimited, and this is in collaboration with Avery. I love Avery. She is definitely one of my dearest friends. I honestly think she has such a pure heart. Like, she is one of those content creators that just radiates absolute sunshine. She does a lot of trope recommendations on her channel, which is why I wanted her to join me on this video. We both love novellas so much. It's so hard to narrow it down. I could give you probably like 30 recommendations because I truly reach for novellas on a daily basis. It's kind of what helps me get out of a reading slump, and I just like being able to finish a book in like 1 or 2 hours. So this was hard. Okay, so I wanted to talk about some novellas that I'm actually reading right now in Kindle Unlimited, so it's kind of like my current TBR. Let me know what you guys are currently reading. I'm reading The Fae Queen's Captive by Sierra Simone. This is a part of a series of paranormal romances that a bunch of authors are writing in. Katie Roberts did one called The Death God Sacrifice. Adriana Herrera did one. They can be read together because they take place in the same universe, but they can also be read as standalones. I picked up Sierra Simone's first because it's a Sapphic romance. Oh, I love it. Sapphic monster romance. That's everything I want and desire in this world. I really don't need to know anything else about it. Like, I just don't. Like, I love Sierra Simone so much. I love Sapphic romances. I love paranormal romances. Like, sign me the fuck up. Also reading Fangs and Forever by Mink. I guess I was feeling kind of like the paranormal vibe. So this is a vampire romance. Our hero is a vampire and our heroine is a vampire hunter. And she shows up at his like old Victorian house intending to kill him, but they're fated mates, so they're like instantly drawn to each other, so like of course she can't kill him. Those are the 2 that I'm reading right now. Let me know what you guys are reading, and now we can hop into the recommendations. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about one of my new favorite novella authors, and that is Mariana Vivancos. I apologize if I said her name incorrectly. One of her books on Kindle Unlimited was being constantly recommended to me, and I decided to just pick them up, and I literally fell down a rabbit hole. I read everything that she's published on Kindle Unlimited because I'm so obsessed with her writing. I talked about some of her videos early on this week and some of my other trope videos, so I'm just gonna mention 2 of her videos, but I definitely want to do like a deep dive into this author because I just think she's fabulous. So the one I'm going to talk about today is called I've Walked Where You've Been, and this follows Maddie and Ethan, and this takes place in a world where soulmates exist. It's not like a supernatural paranormal romance. It's definitely more like fated mates, soulmates, and again, it's a male-male romance. Our characters actually end up finding their soulmate and finding each other at 9 years old. Now, most people who are lucky enough to find their soulmate don't meet them until they're at the very youngest, like 16, but more like when they're 25, 30, they're a little bit older. They're ready to kind of like develop that romance with their fated mate. Our characters meet when they're literally children, and they are thrusted into this bond where they can feel each other's emotions, read each other's thoughts, and they have to be in constant contact with each other or they physically get ill. So they have to go to school together, they have to take all the same classes, they have to go literally everywhere together, and they hate it. Not sure how to navigate this bond, and our characters are so different. One of our characters is very rambunctious and likes to play sports and gives very much golden retriever energy, and the other character is very studious and introverted and quiet, and they do not get along. Kind of an enemies to lovers romance, and they resent the bond that is forcing them together. In their entire life they have been pushing against the bond, and finally they're about to enter college, so like right at the end of high school they realize that they will be with each other for the rest of their lives. They physically cannot even be apart from each other, and they realize that growing up they both have made poor decisions and have treated each other horribly, and they decide to kind of amend those wrongs and actually take the time to get to know each other and like figure out why fate even put them together in the first place. So they lean into the bond and it follows the romance, and it is so fucking beautiful. I love this book so much. Like the bond, soulmate energy, just I would love more books like with that plot because it sounds so interesting. The one that I really loved is I've Been Careless with a Delicate Thing, and that follows our heroes Silas and Oscar. This is another male-male romance by the same author, Mariana Vivancos. So our characters end up meeting at a bar, but they have mutual friends, and that's how they end up connecting. Hero Oscar is a gruff, stoic hero. He's pretty introverted, and because of his physical appearance, people have always expected him to be the top, the dominant one in the relationship, but really he is more submissive and he kind of wants to explore those pieces. Our other hero, Silas, really allows him to be whatever he wants to be in the relationship. Silas is a soft dom. He is like a soft dom where he likes to take control, but it's more like pleasure and like praise kink. And to BDSM, I still think this one is an amazing one because the emotional connection between our characters as they explore the submissive and dominant relationship that they create is absolutely beautiful. The way both of our characters grow is just stunning. And again, it's like a freaking novella, and you just see so much like character arc and emotional connection, and of course steam. It's beautiful. I honestly think that this author is doing something so fantastic. I could literally talk about her for this whole video. Some of the other novellas that I'll quickly just like mention, I know I've talked about them on my channel, so I won't go in depth with the plots, but Divine River, that's a Friends to Lovers romance that is gorgeous. Crybaby, that's another Friends to Lovers romance that I definitely love, love, love. If I had to pick like one favorite, it might be that one. I don't know. It's hard. I love all her books. Next one that I really want to recommend is The Stranger in Seat 8B by Nikki Sloan. This one was recommended to me by Tori from It's a Novel Life. And this one is kind of just a cute, steamy meet cute, if that makes sense. So our characters meet on an airplane. They end up sitting next to each other and having like an instant connection. There is a layover for their flight, and they end up having the opportunity to spend a night together in a hotel room and explore that chemistry with one another. It is so steamy, so cute. It's no secret that one of my favorite novella authors is Casey Mint, and of course I have to feature her in this video. I do have a video actually all about Casey Mint where I talk about my 5 favorite novellas, so I will leave that down below, but I'm just going to mention 2 very quickly. My favorites is Big Bet. This is a part of a series of novellas that she did that feature plus size heroes, and I liked all of them, but this one was my favorite. This one features Aubrey and Will. It's a Friends to Lovers novella. Aubrey is a burlesque dancer and Will is a blackjack dealer. So they work together, they eat lunch together, they walk each other home, and they have been friends for a really long time, but they've always kind of like had a crush on each other but didn't want to ruin their friendship. But finally they decide to explore their attraction with one another, and it is so, so beautiful. The other one that I really loved by her, I just read recently, it's called Dirty Rocker, and this one follows London and Dex. It's an age gap rock star romance. So our heroine London, she is reconnecting with her father that she was never close to. He is a famous rock star, and London's dad is trash, let's just say that, but she decides to go on tour with him to bond with him, and it doesn't really work out, and instead she feels drawn to her father's best friend, who is the bass player of the band. A bit older than her, but they have an instant chemistry, and he kind of takes care of her, explore that relationship with one another. This definitely does have a praise kink in it, and that's like one of my favorite things ever. So highly, highly recommend this age gap, slightly forbidden novella from Casey Mint. Talk about some sapphic romances because I love some sapphic romances. One that I read recently that I really enjoyed is called So Much More by Isabel Hansen, and this follows Hartley and Daria. Sorry if I keep looking down, I just have my notes so like I can stay on track, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So this one is kind of funny how our characters meet. Hartley is grocery shopping and she's walking through the streets and quite literally gets punched by our other heroine, Dara. It's an accident. Daria wasn't really paying attention to like where she was going, and they end up literally bumping into each other. But Hartley ends up hurting her arm, so they rush to the emergency room. It is driving her back home after the hospital visit, and it turns out that Hartley's roommate is related to Daria. Okay, so Daria is Hartley's roommate's younger sister, so it's like a best friend's little sister romance. Isabel Hansen writes quite a few novellas on Kindle Unlimited that I think are really good, so I would recommend pretty much any of them, but this one kind of just stood out to me because it was very humorous, perfectly steamy, and I just loved it. Another sapphic romance that I talk about endlessly on my channel because it's one of my favorites. That's Party Favors by Erin McLennan. This is the 4th book in her So Over the Holiday series, but can be read as a standalone. This one follows Amanda and Ren, who are best friends. They meet online and they bond over like fashion and just similar interests, and they are constantly like texting and calling each other, but they've never met in person. So for New Year's, they decide that they're finally going to meet in person, and they also decide that they're going to create a bucket list for New Year's, kind of just a list of things they've always wanted to do, and they're going to help each other do those items. They finally meet though. They have an instant chemistry that they never knew was there, and they decide to explore that romance through the holiday. And perfectly steamy. I absolutely love this one. Honestly, I would recommend any book in this series. Erin McLennan writes the series where each book is centered around a holiday, and it kind of has a theme of like sex toys, because they do all connect because they're all friends, and some of the characters work for like this lingerie shop or the sex toy shop. So it has like a lot of different kinks and steamy time that I thoroughly enjoy. So the first one in this series is Stocking Stuffers. That is a Christmas romance with a dominant heroine and a submissive man. So our heroine is selling sex toys to a romance book club during the Christmas season, and our hero is actually a part of that book club, and they end up getting snowed in at this hotel. Our heroine hates Christmas. She despises it, and our hero is the complete opposite. He is such golden retriever energy. This is a grumpy heroine sunshine hero. So I loved this one. It was really good. The next one is Candy Hearts. This is a male-male romance that takes place during Valentine's Day. And then the one after is Bottle Rocket. This is another submissive man, dominant woman, a second chance romance that takes place during 4th of July. So highly recommend the entire series. Talk about an Omegaverse. I love Omegaverse. I'm trying to do like different recommendations. Omegaverse, Sapphic romances, contemporary novellas. Like I'm trying to do a whole round of things. So this one is an Omegaverse. It's called Heat Haven by Sarah Blue. It's the first book in the Heat Haven Omegaverse series. I don't know what an Omega is. I have a whole video explaining it, but it's like the human version of shifters where alpha, betas, and omegas exist. They normally don't shift though, but they do have fated mates, and omegas go into heat where they need alphas knots. It's a good time. It's a really great time. Anyways, so this is a polyamorous romance. Our heroine, Emily, is an Omega, and she ends up contacting this Heat Haven agency, which is a safe place for Omegas to be able to go during the heat, and they can pick the alphas that they want to help them through that heat. Everyone is going through the process of preparing for her first heat, and I'm stuck in the elevator with our hero Griffin, and instantly his alpha energy makes her go into heat, and it follows their romance. There are other alphas in this story, so that's why it's polyamorous. I adore this entire series overall. I think it's a really nice introduction to Omegaverse if you're not familiar with it. And also Omegaverses can be very heavy on trigger warnings. Omegaverses have a lot of trigger warnings for like sexual assault, especially with Omegas, because they're so vulnerable during their heat. But this is like a softer Omegaverse, not too many trigger warnings, and it introduces the world very well. So this is also a series I highly recommend. The next book in this series is Omega's Obsession. This is another polyamorous romance. Our heroine has been in love with her childhood best friend for the longest time, and she kind of like decides to shoot her shot. He is already in an existing pack with other alphas and betas. So again, this is a polyamorous romance with 3 men and 1 woman, and she ends up forming a connection with all of them as well. I adore this one. The next one is Protector's Promise, and it's not polyamorous. It's just a male-female romance, and it's a bodyguard romance. Kind of like going through these really quickly because it's a series, and I was mainly talking about like the first one, but I really do recommend the entire series. One that I want to recommend is a Mafia romance, and this is called The Mobster's Nurse by Ever Lilac. The title kind of explains itself. Our heroine is a nurse walking to the hospital during one of her shifts. She sees our hero who is being gunned down in like an alleyway, and she instantly goes to kind of like save him, and he ends up getting shot, and she's a nurse, so she nurses him back to health, and it turns out he is the head boss of the Nordic Mafia. And as soon as he wakes up after surgery and after she nursed him to health, he is obsessed with her and wants to make her his, and he sure does. Pretty steamy, and if you're someone who's new to Mafia romances, I think this is a very good novella to start with. I feel like a novella recommendation video would not be complete if I don't talk about Risley Adams. So I love all of her books. The one I'm going to mention today is called Birthday Shot, and this is a brother's best friend romance. We have a couple of those in here. So our heroine has always had a crush on her older brother's best friend, but her older brother is like adamant that like they cannot date because he does not want their friendship to be ruined and attraction towards one another. So it is her birthday, and she decides that she is going to shoot her shot. She's gonna get some birthday sex, okay? She's gonna do it. So she ends up kind of like propositioning him, and they have a very steamy night on her birthday and forming a relationship, and it is so cute. Risley Adams' heroes are just like so smooth. I just love them, and her steam is so freaking sexy. I adore it. One of my favorites is Go Deep. This is a friends to lovers romance by Risley Adams. So our heroine is an erotica romance writer going through a little bit of a writer's block. She doesn't really have any inspiration. So she reaches out to her childhood best friend Xander to kind of form a friends to benefit situation so she can get some inspiration. And let me tell you, she gets inspired. It's like this friends to benefit situation. They have been best friends their entire life but never have explored that attraction with one another, and once they do, explosive, steamy, beautiful, perfect, wonderful. I love Xander so freaking much. Like, this novella is perfect, absolutely perfect. Anyways, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I probably talk to you for hours about novellas because they're some of my favorite things. So don't forget to watch Avery's video. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. I love you. Stay happy and healthy. Bye. That didn't feel like my normal outro, but we're just gonna go with it.